What's up out there? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my top 10 all-time favorite horror movies. Somebody on one of my marathon movies videos asked me what my top 5 or 10 horror movies were, so here we are. Two of these are from the marathon itself. Like, I started this horror movie marathon every year. I watch one in October, and I started that in 2015. So two of these are movies that I picked up then. The rest of them all came from just over the years of stuff that I've watched. So let's dive in. Movie number 10. I'm going to go backwards 10 to 1. So number 10 on my list is Society from 1989. If you have never seen this movie and you like horror movies, go into this blind. Don't watch a trailer. Don't read anything up about it. Just go watch the movie. It's a very 80s style movie. If you watch it the first time, you're going to be like, this is kind of weird. And there's just oddball 80s high school stuff that goes on throughout the first half of it or 2/3 of it or whatever. The ending is just bananas. It is completely insane. But if you rewatch it after you see it the first time, you'll see how much shows up in there. Like, it's just kind of a weird movie the first time you see it. And then the second time you're like, oh, that's where all this comes from. So that is Society from 1989. Is my number 10 all-time favorite movie. I've only seen this twice, but it made such an impression. The ending made such an impression on me that it just made my all-time favorite movie list. Number 9 is another one from, and that's why they're down at 9 and 10, is because they're recent additions, so I don't know where I would fit them up higher. But number 9 is another movie I picked up off my marathon, and I watched this a couple years ago. This is Terrifier from 2016. Art the Clown is awesome. Now, people say this movie is short on story, and I mean, it is very gory. There are some very brutal things that happen, but there's a couple of twists to this whole thing that you don't see coming, and when they happen, you're like, wow, that was amazing. Amazing good or amazing bad, I don't know, but there are some things that happen in this movie that you just don't see coming. It is a very violent movie. I love this movie, and they've got part 2 coming out. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how that goes once it gets out, but Terrifier from 2016 is my number 9 pick for all-time favorite movies. Number 8 is The Ring from 2002, not the original Japanese one, the remake. And very specifically, the reason that I love this movie is I'm in technology. I was working on IT stuff in 2002 and computers and whatever, and that's kind of what I do. Watching some creature come out of a TV, come out of technology and attack somebody is just awesome. I love it. I love the concept. And the biggest thing that sold me on this is we used to have a dollar theater here in Ham. Way back in the early 2000s, there was a theater around here that you could go watch a movie for $1. I mean, it was like $3 or $4 for the main attraction across town, but you could watch old movies or movies that had already made this, they were already out, and this was like their second run at it. You know what I mean? Like they would hit the dollar theater just to try to milk a little bit more money out of it. Friends of mine and I went to go see this, and the theater itself was kind of one of those old shitty theaters that had been around for 20 or 30 years. So it already had a bunch of gum and stuff stuck to everything. It was a dirty, grimy building. And we go see The Ring, which is kind of a dirty, filthy, grimy movie. And it was just the perfect setting to sit in. It is one of my favorite movie memories because the theater itself and the movie that was playing were perfect for each other. Like, it was absolutely perfect. So The Ring from 2002 is my number 8 all-time favorite horror movie. My number 7 pick is not one that I would necessarily call a horror movie, but Letterboxd has it that way. I have a big list of 40 or 50, maybe 60 movies of my all-time favorite movies, stuff like Total Recall and Commando. I loved Arnold back in the day. Still love a lot of his movies, but I have this list of action movies and comedies and stuff like that. And when I sorted it I was looking for horror movies because I already made here's all my all-time favorites. I just hit the genre of horror, and this popped up in there, and I'm like, I'll throw it in there, but this is more of an action movie, but it is horror, so I'll throw it on here. My number 7 pick is Blade from 1998. Wesley Snipes, Blade, phenomenal. Love this movie. The second one, I used to like the second one more, but the more I've watched the first and second, and third one's all right, but the more I've watched them, I think the first Blade movie is phenomenal. Like, it is awesome. I just love everything about it. The way Blade gets introduced in the dance techno place or whatever, and the whole movie, the way everything plays out, love it. Absolutely love this. So my number 7 pick is Blade from 1998. Now my number 6 pick might be a little controversial, but I love this movie, Dawn of the Dead from 2004. Now this is the Zack Snyder movie, and I love Zack Snyder movies. I know a lot of people don't, but I happen to really love this Dawn of the Dead version. Now the original one's cool. I enjoy it. I dig it. But this one here is a fun movie that just, there's one little aspect that I really don't care for, and that's the little zombie kid thing that comes along. I thought it was kind of a needless waste of time to put that in there. But the rest of the movie is paced very well. I enjoy the cast. I love how it starts off with like the drone flying over and you're seeing cars and all the carnage and stuff, cars wrecking into things, gas stations exploding, all this crazy stuff. The musical choices that they made, the Disturbed song that gets done as the Down with the Sickness song that's done. I can't think of the style of that music, but it's not done as Disturbed does it. It's done as like a lounge act. That's what I'm trying to think of. And I thought that was hilarious. And it was a very good part of the movie to put that song over. I just loved this version a lot. So Dawn of the Dead 2004 is my number 6 pick. Number 5, Army of Darkness from 1992. I love the Evil Dead movies. I actually liked the remake. I thought the remake of Evil Dead was good. I thought seeing a serious take on it was awesome. But Army of Darkness, I remember seeing the trailer for this thing back in high school or whatever, and where the guys, I was back in high school back then, the guy's looking through the book and his chin's getting sucked into the book and everything. I remember that from the trailer. I love this movie. I can't tell you how many times I've watched this over the years. Well, really all these. I mean, aside from Terrifier and Society, I've watched all these other ones at least 5, 6, 8, 10, 20 times each, depending on the movie. Dawn of the Dead, I know I've watched. Blade, Dawn of the Dead, and Army of Darkness, I know I've watched a lot because they're some of my all-time favorite movies, and they're just fun. Like, some of these other ones are horror movies, and I kind of got to be in a mood for them, but like Blade is a kick-ass movie, Dawn of the Dead's a kick-ass movie. Even if you're not in a horror movie mode, it's still fun to watch. Same thing with Army of Darkness. The movie's funny. I could almost, rattle off half the lines to it, but my number 5 pick is Army of Darkness from 1992. Love that one. In at number 4, I have In the Mouth of Madness from 1994. This movie is awesome. I remember when I went to go see this, and I was like, wow, this is just crazy insanity going on. And the story starts and ends in completely different places. Although it's the same place, it's just you've now been through this wild journey that gets you there. I love In the Mouth of Madness. So that's my number 4 pick. I just love this movie. In at number 3 is probably one that people are going to look at and be like, man, that movie sucked. But I love this movie. This is one, and this is one that may be non-negotiable. I'm not sure. This is Split Second from 1992 with Rutger Hauer in it. Him and his partner ends up getting killed by a demon thing or something like that. And then he's got to go figure it out. And then the demon comes back and all this stuff goes on. I absolutely love this movie. There's some really quotable lines to it. The city's underwater, like it's not stopped raining for months. So it's just all grimy and nasty and covered underwater and rats and everything else. And then there's this demon running around killing people. I love this movie, and it's got that mixture of sci-fi and horror. The only downfall to this is the ending to it. It just kind of it ends, but not. It's not as good of an ending. Like, I feel like it could have been done a little bit better. I don't know. But Split Second from 1992 is my number 3 pick. My number 1 and 2 movies. I've gone back and forth on these for years. I saw both of these when I was a kid. In fact, this one here I saw on cable when I was like 5 years old. something like that, 5, 6 years old, a little kid. I've gone back and forth on which one is number one and number two, and I've finally settled on which one I actually like at number one and which one I like at number two. So number two is Alien from 1979. I saw this when I was a kid. It popped up on cable. My parents let me watch it. I was a real little kid when this hit cable. And watching that chest burst scene, I was like, nope, I'm done. I was out. I didn't even bother with the rest of the movie. In fact, I didn't want to go take a shower or nothing that night. I didn't want to be alone at all because this movie terrified me, but I was a little kid. Now it's my number two all-time favorite horror movie. As I've watched this movie over the years, though, I've noticed little flaws in it here and there, and it's not quite the 5-star perfection movie that I used to think it was. So I've bumped it down to number two, which leaves one answer for number one, and that is The Thing from 1982. And I think this is a 5-star masterpiece in horror. The Thing is just practical effects, the cast, the acting, the story, everything about it, the suspense, like you don't know who's who or what, and there's all this debate on who's actually a thing and who's not, and what order everything happened at, and who was where. I mean, this movie has everything you could want. It's also got space stuff and sci-fi and everything. Like, it's my perfect horror movie. So it is my absolute favorite horror movie of all time. Hands down. I don't think there's going to be anything else there's probably as good or maybe better movies out there for horror and stuff, but this one is my all time. That's it. That's all. The Thing is my favorite. So The Thing from 1982, and it's John Carpenter. I love John Carpenter. I love a lot of his horror movies. I know there's every once in a while there's a debate, is Wes Craven better or John Carpenter? For me, it's John Carpenter. He's done a lot of movies that were action. He's done a lot of movies that were horror. Like, he's just a very well-rounded director. He's got a lot of movies that I love. A couple of them are on this list, and a lot of the other stuff that I love off of it. So I love him, and I love the cast of this, the entire cast. Like, everybody does a killer job on this. So that is it. That is my top 10 all-time favorite horror movies. And I love all these, and I'll probably end up watching these. I don't know how many times I've seen The Thing or Alien, Split Second. Like, I just turn these on every once in a while and watch them. I'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. And I go flip it on and watch it. And Split Second was really hard to find for a long time. Like, yeah, I tried buying it. Like, you couldn't buy it on DVD or anything. It wasn't sold. Like, it was discontinued or whatever. And they finally have a Blu-ray version of it out. The first time I subbed to Amazon Prime several years ago, I noticed that they had it. That was the first movie I watched on Amazon Prime because I hadn't seen it in so long. I was like, man, I got to watch this. But that's it. That's my top 10. Anyway, that will do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.